Hey, you guys, this is Miss Tiwanda. Hope you all are doing well and staying healthy and getting acclimated to being at home. I really do miss you guys. For this week, I am going to try to use some technology to communicate with you guys. It's been a challenge for me to figure out how to do this because our Delta curriculum is fully hands-on. So obviously, if we're not at school, we can't do that. So I've had to kind of think through this and try to get some creative ways to continue to educate you guys with our science curriculum we have. So this slide right here just shows you kind of my game plan overall for how we're going to try to tackle each module that we do. So obviously starting next week, we'll have our online school method where we'll be using Zoom and Google Classroom and things like that. So we're working on getting that stuff up and going. So we'll have virtual interactive classrooms. I'm going to be giving you some at-home hands-on activity assignments. So I hope those will be fun and educational for you. I'm going to begin to try to give you more homework assignments, send you some YouTube videos on the topics that we're discussing, give quizzes, a study guide for the test, and the test. So this is going to be kind of the general idea and format for how we do things moving forward. And I'll try to adhere to this to the best of my ability. Okay. So you guys know that we have been working on weather forecasting. And so we're going to continue with this module. I'm just going to review some of the things that we actually talked about when we were at school, just some key terms. Okay, so we talked about the atmosphere and that the atmosphere is the air surrounding the earth. And we talked about how weather is basically the study of the condition, or it's the actual condition of the atmosphere at a given time and place. So don't get this confused with climate. Climate's more like the general weather conditions of an area, but weather changes all the time. So for instance, here in North Carolina, we can have sunny weather, we can have snowy weather, we can have thunderstorms. We have all different types of weather, but we have a general climate that applies to this region of the world. Okay. Then we have meteorology. Meteorology is the study of weather, and a scientist that studies weather is called a meteorologist. So again, you guys probably remember a lot of these terms we talked about. And then, so obviously the focus of this unit is weather forecasting. And we know that weather forecasting is predicting weather conditions. So again, these are terms you guys probably and should know. So we have something called a weather station that meteorologists use. This is a place for recording and displaying weather data that has been collected. So our plan for class was to create our own weather station. We were going to have a trifold board and all that and keep our information collected on that board, but obviously we can't do that now. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to have you keep a weather journal at home. So there's going to be just different things that make up this weather journal. So the first thing we're going to start with is our weather log. So I delivered some stuff to you guys yesterday. So if you look at your activity sheet number 2 that says why forecast the weather. I don't even know if you can see this. I was trying to post it on this PowerPoint, but it didn't work. So why forecast the weather? So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be recording data on this log Monday through Friday for 2 weeks, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then other activity sheets, other assignments that I give you that'll be completed later can just be added to your journal. So basically, it's just a notebook keeping all of your information. So you don't have to necessarily buy a separate notebook, but I just want you to keep everything together, okay? So just to talk a little bit about some of the concepts of weather forecasting. Again, we talked about this at school, but why weather forecast? What's the purpose of it? Basically, is to prepare and plan. So simple things like what you should wear every day. If it's going to be cool, you might need a jacket. If it's going to be rainy, you may want an umbrella. So those are things that you want to prepare for, and a weather forecast helps with that. It helps you determine if you can do outdoor activities or when you want to take trips. So it affects all of that. And then obviously it helps you to prepare people if a storm is coming. So if there's going to be inclement or adverse weather conditions, people may need to stock up on food or make sure they have candles and batteries to have light if the power goes out, or if they just need to take shelter if it's really some sort of natural disaster potentially coming. They may have to seek safety and seek shelter. So, what are the things that are needed as far as the information that's needed for weather forecasting? These are some of the things that you're going to be including on your weather log, that activity sheet 2 I gave you. So temperature, obviously we know that, how hot or cold it is. Precipitation can be rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Air pressure, that may be something that's new for you guys. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we continue through this unit. Wind, so the direction of the wind and how fast the wind is blowing, so wind speed. Cloud coverage, if it's cloudy, partly cloudy, no clouds. And there's other things that we look at too when we're forecasting weather, okay? So obviously, to take temperature, you need a thermometer. You guys know that. Precipitation. So obviously, there's different types of precipitation, but when we're dealing with rain, we use something called a rain gauge. This is a basically a container that's used to collect rain that falls in one spot. So obviously it's a small container. And this is used to kind of give us an idea of how much rain occurred in a general area. Okay. And then you notice there's a measuring device on it so you can know how much rainfall took place. And we're actually going to have an upcoming activity this week for you guys where you're going to make your own rain gauge at home. Yay. Your first at home activity. Wind direction. One thing you can use to determine wind direction is a compass. So I included a compass in your materials that I delivered. So basically, you're trying to figure out the direction that the wind is blowing in, okay? A wind vane is another tool that can be used to determine wind direction. Okay, and this is going to be another upcoming project that we'll do a little later on, okay? So again, whenever the wind is blowing and you could tell which direction it's blowing by the way things are moving, you'll use your compass to determine what direction that's blowing. If the compass I gave you doesn't work, iPhones also have a compass that maybe you can use. If your parents have an iPhone or smartphone, you can use that also, okay? And that may be a little bit more accurate to help you determine which direction the wind's coming from. Wind speed. So for wind speed, there's something called a Beaufort scale, okay? A Beaufort scale is basically a scale that we use to kind of get a general idea of how to rate the force of and the speed of the wind. So it's a scale of 1 to 10, okay? And so basically what you do is you look at observable things outside to help you get a general idea of how fast the wind is blowing. Now you have a Beaufort scale that I gave you in your packet. It's activity sheet 3, but this one on this PowerPoint is just a another one that I found online to give you an idea. Okay. So if you look at 0, for instance, basically that means there's no wind blowing. Okay, very, very light. So here they're using the picture of a flag. So if you look at a flag and the cloth of the flag, the material is just hanging down, obviously it's limp, there's no wind blowing. Okay, I think your Beaufort scale uses smoke. So if smoke is rising straight up vertically, not moving, being blown side to side, it tells you that there's no wind blowing. So maybe like smoke from a chimney or an industrial plant or something you can use to gauge that. Then you look at number one, you see it's a light breeze because you see the flag starting to try to lift up a little bit. Okay, you get down to three, moderate. Now you see how the material of the flag is starting to be more horizontal. Okay, and then obviously if it's a really strong wind, you can see that flag blowing hard. And if you've seen this before, how it flaps because it's just being blown pretty hard. So the stronger the wind, the higher the Beaufort number will be. Okay, so you guys are going to use this for your weather law to go outside, maybe look at trees. You probably won't have smoke around, but you can use trees are a great thing to look at to kind of see how the wind is blowing, and that'll give you an idea of maybe what Beaufort number to pick. And then, of course, with each number, it gives you a general idea of the miles per hour, okay, or the knots, the miles per hour. Let's see what it says on your Beaufort scale. I think that maybe not. But anyway, it gives you an idea of the speed. And so what you would write is your Beaufort number on your log that kind of is in the range of the speed that you think based on your observations. So you're being a meteorologist, you make your observations and you assign a number for that particular day. Okay, so I'm hoping this makes sense. Air pressure or barometric pressure. So air pressure, I don't know that we talked a whole lot about this at school, but air pressure is basically pressure from the air in the atmosphere. So we have pressure being exerted on us. All objects have pressure being exerted on it by the atmosphere and all the air surrounding it. Okay, so for instance, if you go up into the mountains, sometimes your ears may pop, or if you go on an airplane, your ears may pop because you have internal pressure and outside pressure, and your body wants to have balanced pressure, so your ears may pop in order to try to balance the air pressure inside and outside your body. So again, air pressure is a major thing that's used to determine weather conditions. It creates certain weather conditions. So air pressure, again, also called barometric pressure, is measured by an instrument called a barometer. And I have a picture of it here. Obviously, you guys don't have barometers at home like this. So for this particular column on your log, you can collect weather data from your iPhones, the Weather Channel website, whatever you want to do to record these. And actually, I'm going to have you guys make one at home. So this is another upcoming activity. So you can make your own barometer at home and kind of see how it works. So obviously, the stronger the air pressure from the outside is going to uh, affect weather and even affect how you feel. So there's some people, it's kind of funny how they'll say they know a storm's coming because they have aches in their body. And that's because the air pressure is changing and they may feel aches in their joints or issues with their sinuses because of changes in air pressure because of approaching storms. So there's a lot of people who say that all the time. But anyway, so we'll talk more about air pressure and what it means. But for now, you can collect this information for from your log from other weather data sources. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So like I was saying a few minutes ago, your first hands-on at-home activity is going to be making a rain gauge. So I'll be sending you some YouTube videos to give you some ideas of how to do it. I included maybe I don't know if I included anything for this, but some of the things that you can use to make this are plastic bottles or a jar, a ruler, maybe some scissors, tape, a means of stabilizing the jar. So if you sit it outside, you don't want it to fall over. So you may have to surround it with some rocks or adhere it to a piece of wood or find some creative way to keep it stabilized. But again, I'll be sending you a couple of videos to just kind of give you an idea of how you can possibly make it. And what I'll have you do is, I know it's supposed to rain maybe midweek and some next week. I'll have you do a couple of rounds of testing this and getting some measurements from your rain gauge. Okay, so I'll give you more instructions shortly on that. Actually, maybe upcoming right now. So I hope that kind of gives you a general idea of what we're doing. So as far as right now, what you need with your activity sheets or activity sheet 2, which is your chart for recording your weather. Okay, so again, all of this information can either you could take it with like the temperature. I want you to use the thermometer I gave you to take the temperature outside. You can also compare it to what you find on your iPhone or the weather channel. See how close you get, okay? Precipitation, I want you to get that off your phone or find a source to get your data. Wind direction, basically, yeah, wind direction, same thing. Wind speed, you can use your Beaufort scale. So again, I'm looking at your activity sheet 2 right now. Barometric pressure, you'll have to get from an outside source. And then the last column, okay, here says general, I don't even think you can see this, general observations. So that's basically for you to go outside and just give general observations. Is it sunny? Is it cloudy? Is there an overcast? Anything like that that's just general that you observe, okay? And later on, as we make our rain gauge and we make our wind vane and our barometer, I'm going to have you do some test runs of some of that stuff, do your own videos showing how you made it, demonstrating how it's used, and you'll be sending that to me for a part of your grade. But you're not using those instruments to collect your data for your weather logs. I just want to make sure that's clear. And then obviously you need to record the date for each particular day that you're taking measurements. So what I want you to do is Monday through Friday for 2 weeks. So I believe I included 2 pages of this. And then you'll be starting with your first at-home hands-on activity, which will be your rain gauge. So just like I said, I'll be sending you some videos out to give you some ideas. If you want to go ahead and look at for your own, that's fine. But I want you to make a video of, once you make it, I want you to make your own video showing, explaining how you made it, basically doing a demo of how you set it up, maybe where you put it outside. You can be fun and creative with it. Just, I want to get the general idea of what you did, okay? And maybe during some of our interactive classes, we could share these videos with our friends and classmates. That'll be fun to watch. So I hope this is clear, and I'm hoping this is getting you off to a good start. So again, I apologize for the delay in getting all this stuff to you, but basically I'm having to create all this on my own. So I appreciate your patience, and definitely reach out if you have any questions at all. Thanks a lot, and I will be in touch. Um, Let me go ahead and tell you now that starting next week with online school, we'll be using Zoom. I'll be using Google Classrooms to give you information. So I won't necessarily just be sending you text messages and WhatsApp text. So we're working on all that. But for now, we're just trying to get through this homeschool week. Okay. All right, you guys. I will talk to you later. Bye.